Commonwealth urges political parties. NCRA, National Civil Registration Authority, commemorates Africa Civil Registration and Vital Statistics Day. From the Calabash, I go to Salone Compass newspaper. Salone Compass, August 10th commemoration. No justice for the murdered. Perpetrators hailed. Victims jailed. Sahr grounds market ready in September. That, according to the project manager, did that information day to the press. And also, PC and Sons upholds quality. From the, we move on now to Focus newspaper, and Focus newspaper reports WIMSEL partners with First Lady for more women empowerment. Guild of Editors strengthen ties with new Minister of Information. Rokel Commercial Bank promotes Scrabble competition in Sierra Leone. And also, NACIT updates media on Sahr Grounds Market Project. From the Focus newspaper, I go to Concord Times newspaper, and the Concord Times reports military intervention in Niger imminent. Speaker of Parliament is not a money-making enterprise. Well, that's not too clear that now the Concord Times newspaper. It says Speaker of Parliament is not a money-making enterprise, exactly. Metro Cable Africa expands fiber internet infrastructure to Sierra Leone. And I think that's now the front page of the Concord Times newspaper. From the Concord Times newspaper, we go to the next paper, Beyond Borders. And a report on the front page, improving fisheries. Improving the fisheries and marine resources. New fisheries minister inspects Tumbo outstation. Parliament conducts 2023 induction programs for MP. From Beyond Borders, we move to the next paper. We get the Voice of SALONE. The Voice of SALONE reports for breach of agreement, NGC to drag SLPP to court. APC Secretary General fires back. And also on the front page of the Voice newspaper, amidst controversy, again the story there now, most of the papers, the PC and Sons remain steadfast in upholding quality of its products. Islamic Development Bank inspects Rise Value Chain project in Tomaboom. The Islamic Development Bank, I think they are the main sponsors of the Tomaboom project. From the Voice newspaper, we go to Independent Observer newspaper, and Independent Observer, APC boycott stance fades. Addressing fraud against slowage. That's now on the front page of the Independent Observer. We move on to Women's Voice newspaper. Women's Voice for Development and Progress. Gender Minister urges women to embrace love. UK High Commissioner visits Foreign Affairs Minister. And also, there also the report about the NACIT Sahr Grounds projects. Updates from NACIT about the project. From them, we move on to Heritage and Heritage report, next page passport contracts, conflicting, unrealistic, deceptive. Petty trader wins Africell mega promotion. From The Heritage, we now go on to the Our newspaper, and on the front page of the Our newspaper, failure to adhere to the directive of his people, constituency 129 disowns their MP. In Sierra Leone, Metro Cable Africa expands fiber internet to homes and business. And also, Tabital Pulaku International Sierra Leone chapter pays courtesy funeral visits to Vice President Mohamed Julde Jallo. And also, Slowage fires back. That now on the front page of the Owl newspaper. From the Owl newspaper, we get to the final paper for this morning, when a Sky Times newspaper. And the Sky Times newspaper gets on the front page, with painful wounds still not healed, Sierra Leone needs meaningful dialogue. Its elections review committee a whitewash of its flaws? That's the question they're asking. PC and Sons debunks expired products allegation. NPAA trains game guards and stakeholders on protecting catchment areas. Well, that's not the front page of the newspapers, them, the headlines, them so far, where we they bring Cantorina today. Well, I get Theophilius Gbenda for joining me and discuss the headlines them this morning, now the front page of the newspapers them this morning.
Yes, Madam Dana, thank you so much. Yes, good morning, Dana, and good morning, viewers. Very interesting headlines indeed from the newspapers, and I will just take a few. Constituency 129 disowns MP. Well, this now the MP, is it Alfred Thompson, where decide for going to Parliament and go take the oath, even though in party say they're not for cooperate with the House of Parliament and governance generally. So he make the second person whether disobey the party instruction of them not going to Parliament. And for Mohamed Bangura, we not yet say in constituency disown them. But for Alfred Thompson, we say in constituency disown them. So the question now is, who is he representing in the House of Parliament? Is it the APC or his constituents? So that's the question you go ask yourself. Then again, they say August 10 commemorated justice for the murdered. Well, of course, we know say a number of people were arrested. Then a number of people were killed. Policemen they lost their lives. Civilians themselves lost their lives. And so far, we not get information as to whether the family members of, for example, the police officers the way they killed, whether they be given. And we also don't know whether, in fact, they were insured. Then for the civilians, them, we also don't know whether their families then be receive any kind of support from the government or whatever. So maybe in that newspaper they talk about say they're not getting no justice for them. Then another one, NGC to sue.
Before we proceed, the issue of disownment by the constituency of the MP.
Yeah.
You make mention, say, in the case of Mohamed Bangura, we not get reports of in constituency they disown them. So what's really going to happen that this constituency decide for disown the member of parliament?
Well, it only means say constituency 129, where they are free to they get more informed electorates. They are more informed. Whilst the one that are carrying it, someone come out, sometimes they never care about where to go. They never know the implications. Perhaps that's the difference. So that is what I would say to that.
And the NP in question, when they just sworn in, reports, we see reports say media under duress for sign the paper, the documents where they sign at the party office, say they're not for go to parliament, they for abstain governance, all governance issue.
Yeah, so that don't make sense. That don't make sense at all, because otherwise, now, what about the others? Because now they're in 35. No, they're 35. So why the other one themselves not come and say the same thing? So never act alone. Never act alone. So whether or not direct, this is internal. It's not for him to say. It's not for him to say in the public domain. Whatever thing happen internally at the party level, it behoves the all for keep them as party secret. If it happen in SFP,
So is it,
we don't expect anybody.
is it that
Yes.
the MPs them, where they go na parliament now for be sworn in, we don't get two now, and we dey see report that more go they follow soon. Is it that
Okay.
they no trust or get confidence in the party, say the action whether they take not to the right action?
Well, it's not about confidence in the party. It's about their first to go to parliament. That's it. That's the main thing I would say. It's not about their party. It's about, because but I tell you, say this way they happen so now it get a rip over effect on the APC, because it is very likely that eventually the APC get to take action against those MPs, and they go end up for go declare for the SLPP. So the APC for brace up for the backlash, because definitely it was a controversial decision for elected members not for going to parliament, and 35 of them, now only 2 don't decide. So it means the majority still there in full support of the party decision. So let us see what happens within the course of the days and weeks and even months. But what we know is that negotiations are ongoing. If even the president don't call on the APC, say, "Dear, when I come over, let us work together." And negotiations are ongoing. So it is very likely that these negotiations they go bring good picking, and we go see the APC MPs them going at the House of Parliament. Me not gonna make any call to them anymore. They don't give me your opinion on this. For say, as far as me concerned, these people have been duly elected and should therefore take their seats in the House of Parliament. But the party where get the MPs them, because mind you, the PR system, you don't vote for individual MPs, you vote for the party symbol. So which means the loyalty of those MPs is for them to the party. So therefore, if the party say, sit down, don't go to parliament, then you are under obligation to sit down. Whether not direct or not, that is not for us to say.
As you rightly say, dialogue they on presently. The president they try for make they settle some of the grievances there, or some of the points where the APC make against the election. And the APC don't inform the public, and I believe they don't inform Parliament about the decision. But we see the clerk of Parliament, they sworn in the members of Parliament them. One going to wonder why they not act on the decision of the APC executive. Let me say, be specific, the Secretary General, they inform them about the position.
Well, as far as me concerned, the clerk of parliament is not doing anything bad. He is not doing anything bad, because these people have been duly elected to go to the House of Parliament. And so anytime they show up, they go swear them in. Right? They go swear them in. The only thing I know, and I hope say they will reverse that decision there, because according to Parantawali, Honorable Parantawali, the clerk of parliament, he said the MPs them will not take the oath of office on the first day. Right? Then will be contract MPs. In other words, they're not going to be entitled to certain benefits. Whilst the one that will take the oath of office on the day in question, then going to be entitled to all the benefits they will forget. So we don't know how, for the sake of progress, whether the House of Parliament will just ignore that aspect there. So any MP will show up, Of course, they're duty bound for swear 'em in. They are not going to wait for the party for say,
So is it a
well, we are
law
not going. No.
now law say because they not go for be sworn in on the first day, so they're not go entitled to benefits, or na the clerk of parliament just want decide for take that kind of action against them or for force them for go be
Well,
sworn in?
well, I not think say it will be the decision of the clerk of parliament. It must be to say na part of them protocols. Na part of the protocols. But according to, because even the last term, the fifth parliament, the APC MPs them, they were sworn in late because during the election of the Speaker of Parliament, you know some couscous may happen at the well of Parliament, so make them be pull the APC MPs them out. But later on, the APC MPs then go back and go take the oath of office, and they were given all the entitlements where the SLPP MPs then they get. And then it takes some period before they actually go for be sworn in. So maybe this time around back, it will still apply. But what me they say is that we want to see the APC MPs go to Parliament in bulk, not individually. Not individually. We want to see them go because what in the APC want, they want to go to Parliament with the respect what they deserve. And they believe say now that the president don't call for negotiation and dialogue, because the president say no party no get two-third majority in the house. So therefore the need for dialogue and negotiation very, very important. So now make we think say if finally the APC MPs then go to the House of Parliament in bulk rather than fragmentally. So that is what I will say.
We get a very important issue on the front page of the Heritage newspaper where talk about net page passport contract, conflicting, unrealistic, deceptive.
Well, unfortunately, we not get as spelled in the newspaper, meaning we can only focus on the caption. So, in other words, we're not going to go into the detail of them. But what I'm going to say is that the net page passport contracts, it don't be a contentious issue for a number of years now. The past APC regime try for see how best they can sort them out. They're not able to sort them out. Then the first term of President Bio is not able to sort out the net page issue. The bottom line is that the contract was done in US dollars because the suppliers of the passports, when did they go for go pay? The passports are not printed in Sierra Leone. They are printed somewhere in England. And in US dollar, they pay. So therefore, payments can only be accepted in the US dollar equivalent, and they'll be paid at $100. And the time when they do that passport contract today, and the dollar be there as low as 450 or so. Now the dollar don't go up to over 2 million. Because even me, I go take my passport recently. I paid about 2 million, right? So if you go for go take the passport today now the equivalent of the US dollar that they give you. So for me, that was just how the contract was signed because it is not a local product, it is an international product. But what's important for note is that the net page passport contract remains a contentious issue, so there's need for a review of the contracts.
So this new parliament for look into the agreements they where the government get with NetPage, especially when they tag into the US dollar. Because anytime the dollar go up, the passport price they go up.
Oh, that is for sure. That is for sure. And the next page, when then they do the passports, they have rely on a company where they na where they na England for do the printing. So the key issue back where for look at Now, whether all the specifications in the passports available in the past parliament, a parliamentarian may raise the issue that the passports, when next page they produce right now, it lack certain security features. Or in other words, because it's supposed to be e-passports, right? So that aspect of it has to be looked into. Whether in fact the passport, what would they pay for? They get all the specifications as detailed in the contract. Because it is under question, even in the House of Parliament, for say the passport not get all the security features. If that is the case, then we the one day when they go in for passport are being cheated, because what would they pay for the passport not to in the GUI in terms of the security features. And this is not me talking, it is the deputies, the deputy leader of government business in the House of Parliament. Naim said that, and he is on record. And so far, next page has not responded for say well, now misinformation or whatever. But what they say is that the House of Parliament for review the next page arrangement holistically, including taking into consideration the security features and see whether the passport will get all those features.
Okay. Any other headlines?
Well, the NGC threatening to sue the SAPP to court for breach of agreement. Again, we don't know what are the details because we can only talk about the
agreement.
It's very interesting. It's a very, very interesting one. We know say there was an agreement between the APC and the SAPP. How detailed it is, we don't know because the document is not in front of us. Now, the document between the SAPP and the NGC. So, therefore, it is an internal document, but it was read out. It read out, and we listen to the things that will be there inside there. For say the NGC will be entitled to certain positions and all of that. So far,
the NGC has got only one. NGC members them. But they expect some appointments then, because so far I think now only the leader we don't see, the president will appoint.
Yes.
Dr. Kanda Yunkela.
Yes.
Taking into consideration,
for now,
they don't lost their seat in the parliament. We no longer get the NGC represented in parliament again. Now a big slap on them, you know.
Yes. Well, and they are also victims of the PR system because the threshold what they set is very, very high for any small political party go able to get seats in the House of Parliament. That make it final say not only SAPP and APC get seats in the House of Parliament, right? As elected. So that is the problem with the PR system. And the threshold of 11%, it be so high that not all the political parties them go able for achieve that kind of percentage day. So Dr. Kanda Yunkala in party is also a victim of the PR system. But like you say, not only Dr. Kanda Yunkala don't get appointments, right? All the other MPs, all the other NGC members them, they are still waiting. And so far, it's like the president don't appoint all the ministers and deputy ministers, except for few. Because for instance, internal affairs, not appoint the 8th deputy minister. We ask the question whether it is still being reserved for Lael Lima, right? So we don't know. But we know for say come by way of ambassadors, parastatals, and that kind of thing. So I think to say the NGC, rather than threatening to go to court, if the headline on that newspaper, if anything to go by, I think say therefore engage with the SLPP and therefore Dr. Kanda Yunkala is in very good touch with President Bio. And I think to say it's too early for let the NGC begin the threatening. I mean, because mind you, it is not the NGC that got elected. It is the SLPP that got elected. So anything where the SLP go do for NGC is just by way of favor. There is no law where they force the SLPP say they will do this or do that to NGC. So therefore, it is about engagement. So much as there is engagement going on now between SLPP and APC about them cooperating with the government, because mind you,
so the
even for
bottom
the
line
local
is
council,
that the bottom line is that whatever agreements exist between the two, the president for make sure say it commit himself to the agreement there, because na agreement na agreement. We don't know
agree, but
wetin
it
na
is
the
not
real
legally
agreement.
binding.
But
Yes,
again,
but it is not
let me
legally
ask
binding.
this question, Theophilus. Why Dr. Kade
Yeah.
Yunkela and NGC parliamentarians sit in a parliament and allow them for use a system where don't affect them? I remember one
Well,
time where one of the APC member of parliament, Honorable AKK, they tell parliamentarians, they say this PR system where they support, some of them no will come back na parliament. And indeed, they don't happy. They say if you that road for go parliament, they're not going to in the foot there. So this don't come to reality that the PR system was not really good.
Yes. Even kind of Yunkela them, I mean, the honor me to see the negative side of the PR system. But at the end of the day, politics become right everything. So now that they see the reality, even kind of Yunkela, even if it was stand, if a loss, because NGC not able to forget the threshold of 11%. So therefore, they blame themselves. So the PR system benefits the ruling SLPP most, and I make they think about all the options, and they think to say the only best option where they go able for get enough seats in the House of Parliament, because most of the get seats in the House of Parliament under the SLPP, you're not gonna say it's all that deserving on them as individuals. It's about the votes where the party pool and whatever thing happen. Because, for example, in Karine, Mohamed Bangura talks say, and I be said this by the last program, Mohamed Bangura talks say there was no way SLPP was going to get a seat in Karine, because when they don't do all the reconciliation and enter by the RRF form, the SLP gets about 9,000 and some votes. But when ECSL announced the result, they say SLP gets 19,000 votes. So the question remains,
very clearly that the PR system really benefits the SLPP. Just imagine in Freetown, the Western area, they get 12 seats in the Western area.
Oh yes,
now, there's no NGC, there's no C4C in Parliament, just the two political parties then.
Exactly. So who knows if what will happen at Karine, where they
replicate in other
votes,
areas.
According to Mohamed Bangura, how if it replicates on the other side, including Freetown?
Yeah.
So therefore, it's not just about the PR system, it's also about ECSL. And I make tell now, ECSL not able for come with the disaggregated data for say district to district. For example, Karina district, APC get this, NGC get this, SLPP get this. They have not come with that. Now they are under threat of a court action. And then they say, I've been on a radio, I say ECSL don't finally decide say they will put out the disaggregated data in September. So the question is, why the delay?
Take that long.
Why the delay? Why the delay? Why the delay? What are they doing?
Okay, now we can see. So we finally the round up on the headlines them. But there's one very important thing I make we look at before we close. Now this issue of allegation of expired drugs by PCN. So we don't see that's why they issue out press release they debunk the allegation them. We see say people they raise concern about some expired mayonnaise in the market.
Well, we get the standards bureau. We get what they call standards bureau. So I wonder what the standards bureau they do, because if anything, the standards bureau for come forward and say something regarding that. If there is if PC and Sons they put out expired products, then it's about standards bureau whether they are doing their job, because I have not seen the product, you have not seen the product, and PCA and Sons now a private business entity, so we have to be careful how we deal with the issue. If anything, the standards bureau for PCA and Sons said this you're doing is not good. It constitutes a risk, a health risk to the populace, and therefore take action. But if they are not taking action, it means they are either keeping a blind eye on it, or they are not doing anything about it. So it is a very sensitive matter. We don't just
A
rely
very
on
sensitive
newspaper
matter indeed. But again, now a concern, because citizens they're not going to buy products them according to people that we don't buy them, because now they raise the concern say the mayonnaise don't expire. And also the first time this would only get information about products them. There were times where they talk about rotten chicken, rotten sausage. All of that thing they also don't be concerned. Where standards bureau don't they give a blind eye to.
So that is it. When state institutions are not functioning properly, this is what you get. This is what you get. It is not just about creating those entities. It is about ensuring that those entities are fully operational. If they are not fully operational, then why were they created? Because mind you, Standards Bureau, now a whole establishment. They get staff there where government they pay on a monthly basis. What are they doing? That's the $1 billion question. What are they doing?
Well, now question then they will continue for us. What in the Standards Bureau they do? The issue of fake products in the market, it's not the first thing this would only get information about them, expired products them. We only get a lot of reports on that. So the Standards Bureau really level do something about that. The need for the check the products there so before they flood the market. Now so we go round up the headlines them from the newspaper them this morning. We move on now. UA just they join with this SALONE talk on TDN Africa Network. Mina Diana Coca and my colleague Theophilius Gbenda also there with me. We then move on now to a very important issue where government will not see much action taken yet by government for address the issue of drug intake. We don't see drug use rampant na SALONE, rampant na the country. It's so unbearable for see how young people, both male and female, they use drugs in SALONE. So we want to come discuss about this, especially Kush. They get so many other drugs. They may not sabi the name themselves, but Kush, the use of drugs of Kush don't really rampant, and the negative impact so don't they see a serious cause for concern. Let's go over to Theophilus for a point on this.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed, Madam Diana. Indeed, we need to just talk about drug issue generally. We are talking here specifically about Kush, because now you know the again about tramadol. You hardly now hear about cocaine. You hardly also hear even about marijuana. In fact, coming from the Rastafarian point of view, we get our own thinking about marijuana being listed amongst harmful drugs, because marijuana is the only substance where many countries in the world don't legalize for medicinal, recreational, and economic purposes, right? And I will come to that later on. But now, the important thing is that ever before in Sierra Leone, the issue of Kush has become much more of a big concern because the AIG North, AIG's Yasamandia, he don't even declare a Kush emergency. He don't go to Kamakuye, he don't go to Magbowaka, he don't go to other areas them for sensitize the people them about the use, about the harmful effects of Kush. What we all they see, we all they see Koro one. And Kush now a major issue because it has become so rampant. It is so rampant to an extent that you can find it everywhere you go. And the other thing is that it gets effects on crime. Then it also don't create fear amongst people them. This uh, among citizens about the increase in the rate of crime. Because now the people the way they take Kush, even when you hand close, even when you put rubber, forget water, then they go take them. For no one they get that small thing for go buy Kush. Right? They do everything possible that they jog back the crime rate has increased and the begging rates, the street begging rates has also increased. If you pass the Lumley, if you pass the Shakastivi street, you see the boys begging, they go say, "Wango ito, where you get the money, na Kush they go buy." So it has become
now
so
look
serious.
At the harmful effects on them, on their life.
Where the harmful effect is that it is making them.
We don't see situation where their foot they all swell.
Exactly. The effect is that Kush is making them become useless. Right? Mm-hmm. It is making them become useless. They are dying in droves. And you will see the physical effect on them. So on their foot they swell, they even develop sores. And some they even run mad in the streets right now. And the critical thing is that the use of Kush, it does spread to an extent that even members of the security forces, the police, the soldiers, we don't see evidences of soldiers, police officers, when they become useless in the streets as a result of Kush use, right? And other citizens, they're like Okada riders, taxi drivers, and Poda drivers, even most of the accidents them, when they happen, they are attributable to the use of Kush. Most of the
it's so serious.
Yeah,
I remember
very
time last week when we see a photo, a video where they circulate on social media. Then they tell me saying a driver this way in motor car, they load right now for travel go bow. The driver don't day under the influence of Kush. It's so helpless. So just imagine that driver they go drive people there for go all the way to Boo. And as you mentioned about the security forces, them this now very serious concern that you see security officers there, both OSD and military officers there, they're gone the day in between their foot, then the day under the influence of Kush.
Exactly. And at one time, I'm not saying you remember this. A group of policemen them, OSD personnel them, go on a UN peacekeeping mission. I think at Darfur or somewhere else. So airport to line. So the authorities don't decide say, let's check the money at the bag bar. So when they check the money back them, they catch Kush, they catch tramadol, they catch marijuana. Now some of the bags them. What do they want to take Kush on a UN peacekeeping mission for? Outside SALONE. You policeman, you they go on a peacekeeping mission. Why are you taking Kush along? Why? Why take Kush along? So you see the problem there? So it is a bigger issue than even the talk. But anyhow, now the police now become very much interested. Even the government has now become much more interested because the Minister of Internal Affairs, retired Brigadier Major General Taluva, be there on radio today. He go talk about the issue of Kush na SABC. morning coffee program. And he say they can lead a multi-sectoral approach for handle the issue of Kush. So which means more than ever before, the government has not taken on the Kush issue. And even the House of Parliament, because during the approval of the current youth minister, Mohamed Omar Bagura, by the House of Parliament, a number of MPs them, they team up and they tell us say, if we take the Kush issue very, very serious, because the majority, 99% of the one where they take Kush, now youth them, where they below 30 years. I'm telling you, below 30 years. Now then they take the Kush more than any other person. And they are the most vulnerable in society. They are jobless, they are illiterate, they're not on a parental care, so they can do anything. If I must understand, they live in the streets. So there's not much you can count for save them. Well, because they are just then they do them for destroy themselves, and then they see the company they die. They see the company they become foolish. They still they take them. So it is a very serious
And
matter.
one
But the answer-
revelation where I found very disturbing, not that
yeah.
there are there songs where they talk about this Kush business and they talk say what make the food that they smell, they swell, I mean. Then they go take diamond bone and crepe ham, put ham para for make it so hard. And you know, this I don't really understand. I don't really connect why they for decide for go to that extent.
A very serious matter. Because now they say, well, we don't go bury people that say rest in peace. With that, we people that don't die, they don't rest in peace anymore because they, according to information what they get, they say then they go take diamond bone. Now they all grave them because they're not going to new grave. Now they all grave them where they not say the bone, the body go down waste. Then they go take the mataman bone, all part of the bone, the skull, every part of the bone. They take them, then they say they go wash and fine, then grain them. They grain and fine, then they put the formalin. Formalin, now the chemical whether they use for embalm diamond, for laying up well. Then they go take that formalin, they apply them pan the mataman bone. Then the way you do one, they say you hate, they say if they come up your head like say you don't know how, you don't know, you do one too, they don't fuse you. In fact, recently, just few days ago, one baba go take Kush. I think that for the first time he go take that particular thing in a mataman bone and the formalin. Who say he take him? Now that it further he die. Now that it further he die. Oh yes, of course. You understand? Formalin. What did they use for embalm diamond? Now in there they go take. They put them per mataman bone. They smoke them because the first type of Kush will be the camp in a just pure chemical Kush. But now more of improvised Kush. Now anybody that smoke now, improvised Kush. Who said they go pull that idea there? I don't know.
So the big question now, how their Kush they enter SALONE? How they come inside this country?
Well, that's the $1 million question. And I make this Kush emergency what they talk about. It's not just about going after those who are using the Kush, but about
selling.
the supply chain. About the supply chain. And the fact say the policemen themselves involved in this, the soldiers themselves involved in this, because as far as me concerned, if you go to any police barracks now, you go to any military barracks, the likelihood for you see Kush they sell them is very, very great. If you go to even the party offices them, APC party office, SLPP party office, it is very possible that Kush is being sold and consumed there. Which means it's matter for the authorities them for really brace up if they are serious about tackling the Kush issue, because it is possible that they know who are bringing in the Kush. They know. So now, even communities they now don't brace up for say, if they see anybody that smoke Kush, they go beat them. And it happened.
But that's not the issue, the approach. forbid them when they see that they don't take kush.
in the first
Because
place,
we get a report they saying
yes,
that they happen at Castle Farm, Nakisi. They decide for taking
exactly.
action because they lost one very promising young gentleman. So the people have been so disheartening, and so puts them off completely that guy Bobo they go lost in life because of kush. So they decide for use that approach there for begin chase them. Where I think say they need for rethink of the approach.
Well, in the first place, that Baba will die, na him born for die. Because if he not born for die, he not for go into kush use. Okay? But the approach for them beat people the way they take kush, I am totally against it because the one way they use kush, what is the need? Na rehabilitation and counseling. What do you mean to say Castle Farm use them for do? I'm sure they know who side they sell the kush. When they go on the side, who side they sell kush, when they go arrest the person and turn it over to the police and monitor how the police they handle the matter. That is what they should do. The community youth then they know who side they sell the kush, they know where they sell the kush. When I go to the port, the side they sell kush and arrest the people then they and when I do a neighborhood watch. Say anybody who will catch they sell kush, will they go arrest you physically and hand over you to the police and will they monitor how the police they handle the matter to the logical conclusion. That for me is the best approach where they for use. And like I said, the House of
Just
Parliament
recently.
don't yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
The House of Parliament don't urge the Minister of Youth Affairs for put out a kush policy. Not a drugs policy because we already get drug policy and we get the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency. Whether they are empowered, whether they are capacitated to do their job, we don't know. But what we know is that there is a drug policy. And so now the MPs that they urge the Minister of Youth Affairs for come up with a kush policy, a policy on kush. And this, it should be done as soon as possible. Because, for instance, I mentioned marijuana. Now the youth man, they don't smoke marijuana again. They say marijuana is too light for them. They want something when they jack one, and they turn the head completely. And the marijuana, you can't have that from the marijuana. They don't smoke marijuana in this country even before we young grandpapa that they born. They don't begin smoke marijuana since the 1930s, where marijuana they start to smoke marijuana.
Okay. We will find out that people talk about marijuana because I know say you get a lot of information on the use of marijuana, the benefits we get. But this issue about security, you say for let them hand over the way they sell their drugs there to the security. And last week I see a report where one of our colleagues now Cambia reports where they catch people that they traffic drugs. Then in space of 5 days, the people that don't disappear in a police custody.
Okay. So it's a big game. It's a big game. Now make I say it's not just about taking the people to the police, but to and the police connive with the drug dealers. Because if we don't arrest people, we not duty to protect life and property, and we don't see the number of youths where they die as a result of the consumption of kush. If we not hold people where they traffic kush into the country, these are enemies of the states. These are enemies of progress. They should be prosecuted without mercy, any compromise. So if the police that they compromise, and now the same police that don't say that they launch an emergency, a kush emergency, then where do we find sincerity of purpose?
Exactly.
So until the issue of sincerity of purpose is addressed amongst the security forces, because let the police then start with the police barracks them. Let them start with their police barracks. Like I tell you, I found the conviction for say all the police barracks then in this country, all the military barracks in this country, I am convinced, I have not proven, but I am convinced that kush is being sold in all those places. So let us start with the military barracks. Let us start with the police barracks them, and then they will not take them out to town. So if you see we are not serious about these kush fets, it should be a zero tolerance.
I understand that neighboring Liberia don't take a very drastic step for address drug use in the country. Is there anything we can learn from them? Because I understand, say, if they're catching about 100 years jail time, you go.
It could be 100 years jail time, but I know of life imprisonment. If they catch you, you they traffic drugs in Liberia, or you they sell drugs to Liberia, get a sentence of life imprisonment. So that's the hardest law than they so far within the African region. So therefore, it tells you, because Liberia is a small country, less than 3 million population. I think I stand to be corrected. So if they allow Kush for enter day, it cause problem, then it will just finish the population. So therefore, I'm not surprised that the decision has been taken. And SALONE, we forget is, me they say where the catch person they do Kush, they forget life imprisonment. Me they say there should be a zero tolerance. Zero tolerance. Make it so fearful that nobody no go wish for deal in Kush. Make it fearful.
Okay. So we round up on this issue now. But I want for look into the rehabilitation. You say government for rehabilitate them. And for rehabilitate somebody, for remove that substance from his system, it costs a lot. A lot of money can be poured into that exercise. And now there is here where they talk about the people where they beg in the street for let government invest money for the people in the street where they not do it. So how is this? How is it possible? How, I don't know really, but it really serious that governments get for be serious about this kush business, this drug business, na SALONE.
Yes, as far as me concerned, I mean they say government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So the government is for the people. So as long as you are doing it for the people, nothing is so big. Nothing is so big. It is something that should be done. I don't think so. We get any sophisticated rehabilitation center for drug users, because the centers they will get are for expand them. City of Rest, then I think say they get one. They get Cresiad na Kisi for Cresman, not for drug users. And you know me to say because somebody they use drug, so na Cresman automatically, right? Because there should be a step. Now that make we be the push for the decriminalization of the marijuana, so that rehabilitation centers will be established, wherein you, when they use ganja to an extent that you abuse them and you get the effects, you can be rehabilitated. It's just when I say rehabilitation, they're just counseling, and make you stay away from drug environment and drug use generally. So that is the critical issue. So because now an international requirement, an international best practice, say drug users should not be punished. Rather, they should be rehabilitated. So the key thing at the global scale is to go after the suppliers, the traffickers. Go after the traffic, because if the traffickers are not being kush into the country, there will be no kush. So you go after the traffickers. Because the one where they take kush, they are victims. They are victims of the kush circumstance.
Well, that's not the best thing they for do. The security agency they for do for go after the one the way they come with the drugs inside the country, for ensure that they're able to curtail them, even if they're not eradicate them completely, but let them reduce the amount of drugs where they come into the country. You know, I think that's going to help a lot. Very expensive, and then they go for just as my colleagues say, they don't make people like the thief now, the young man the thief now. They meet bowl, people like they put the bowl for get water, then they throw away the water, they carry the bowl go. They meet close now wire, they go take and go just because they want to go get small quantum of that thing they for inhale them. So governments really need to put all seriousness and take the necessary action. We then move on now to the final issue for discussion today. Very short term we get left. And this, unfortunately, I'm let inform Mr. Theophilius that the footage they will not be able to come because of some technical problem. So we just discuss a little bit. We go find another time for go deep into that issue there for talk more about them. But the Amazonian initiative movement, they work with them for make young girls them when they go through the Bondo society, go through and without any harm. And they don't successfully complete that traditional rites the Nakoya chiefdom. Over 60 of young girls they go through these traditional rites without any harm. What I mean any harm? They not cut them. We not say the bone of contention at the cutting. So this don't happen in SALONE. It don't happen. No cutting. It was bloodless. The Sahr them don't decide say they will get alternative rights them. Instead of the cutting, they will find out a way how they do the thing. So the cutting not may take place at all. And 60 young girls them go through this process very successfully into the Bondo society. Theophilius Gbenda.
For say they go
Let
through
me
the
get your
process
view on
into
this.
the Bondo society. Yes, that's what I'm saying. I say I totally disagree. For say somebody go through the Bondo's process without that aspect. So for me, it is something else. It not got anything to do with Bondo society. We all know what's in the out, we all know it's not for me to come back, right? But we know that there's the issue of cutting. So therefore, if that not take place, they're not a Bondo society. It is something else. It is something else. So me not go even associate them with Bondo society. But what me know is that Bondo society na part and parcel of with custom and tradition. And I sitting here will never say I am against it. What me know is that there is a law to the effect that how it will happen today, when you go take small picking, you go join a Bondo, it didn't happen so again. Now you reach the age of consent, 18 years before you go through that process day. And that process day, you don't necessarily get for go now Bondo bush. You can even go to the hospital. They go do one day quietly. Okay? So as far as me concerned, it is just about control. It is about control. And so that is where I will stop on this particular issue. But those people that way say that's 60.
You get doubts over the cutting will not take place, and the question say not to the Bondo society, but we all know say now for make them able for go into womanhood, make them able for know certain things there, for train them for be responsible woman them. There's so much training where they go take place there than the cutting itself.
Well, I totally disagree. Because you cannot reinvent the wheel. When they say Bondo society, you cannot go through it without that other aspect. So all other things when they come after, the teachings. In fact, now there's not much teaching because today, when picking the go by Bondo, they take them 6 months. They take them 6 months, 5 months. But now most of the picking the way they go to Bondo, they all go school. So that's just 1 week. So what you going for teach picking inside 1 week? Inside 2 weeks? Nothing. So these people are just money making thing. It's just a money making thing. It's nothing serious as far as I am concerned. It's nothing. It's not the best approach. It's not the best approach to go about it, as far as I am concerned. Yeah.
Okay, so you think that's the best approach, the way how they go about
For me, like I said, it's a money-making thing and nothing else. And I can say this anywhere. I can say this anywhere. You cannot reinvent the wheel insofar as Bono society concerned.
You may get an opportunity for talk to some so with them. You can just explain some of the things that were disclosed to you. Unfortunately, I think we'll get some small technical issue with Mr. Gbenda, but it may get really an opportunity for talk to some so with them, one for make give you some of the information them where it gets from them. But unfortunately, it's not possible now. Well, time almost done catering at the program. We will close the program now. We will definitely bring to you another edition where we will discuss more on this particular issue and bring some of the interviews them. Is he back? Okay. So Mr. Gbenda, Theophilius.
So let us.
I want for me to briefly tell you some of the findings them where you may get from some Sweden.
No, something else.
We close now. We not going able to continue right now, but we go there back on Monday, God willing, for another edition of the program Salon Talk on TDN Africa Media Network. Plenty thank you for joining me. We hope say you don't enjoy the discussion today. We go there on Monday. So have a wonderful weekend. Stay blessed. Mina Diana Kuka.